Welcome to the Tech Sharmit podcast, where technology is not just news, but the roadmap to the future. This is a space where we explore the latest tech trends, AI, startups, gadgets, and the ideas that redefine the way we think. Leading this conversation is Amit Sharma, globally recognized as Tech Sharmit. A technologist from Bharat, Amit brings an Indian perspective to the global technology landscape. With deep technical expertise and strong industry insight, and for his contributions and impact within the global tech community, he has been recognized with several prestigious honors, including Google Developer Expert, Microsoft MVP, IBM Champion, and Planet Mainframe Influencer. Through this podcast, he shares practical knowledge, real-world perspectives, and globally relevant thinking designed to help you stay ahead in an ever-evolving technology landscape. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the Tech Sharmit channel to stay updated with future episodes. And if you're looking to level up your skills, don't forget to explore the Tech Sharmit digital course book in the description box, where you'll find thousands of free programming courses curated to help you grow as a developer. So plug in your headphones and join us as we begin today's episode of the Tech Sharmit podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Tech Sharmit podcast. Today I'm joined by another very special guest, Gustav Sundblad, who is joining us all the way from Sweden. If I talk about Gustav, he is a senior solution architect and one of the well-known Microsoft MVP in AI and ERP. His journey spans from early programming on a Commodore 64 to deep expertise in ERP system, including Dynamics AX, where he has seen firsthand what makes enterprise solution healthy or dangerously fragile. So in today's episode, we will talk about his journey into the technology, like how it began, why ERP clicked him for early on, and the common mistake organization make when they are implementing the ERP. But before we proceed with these all things, I would like to thank Gustav for joining us today in this episode. And now I request you to please initiate the discussion by telling us a bit about yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure being here. I was really happy to join this. And thanks for that presentation. It kind of sounds daunting starting out with Commodore 64 as a big shift into where we are today, right? But basically, yeah, that's a quite good summary. I started out early with a big interest in technology, basically stemming from, of course, Commodore, like video games, computers, very early on. And then it kind of just went in a different direction into ERP, and I think we'll get more into that when we get to the further down into the podcast. But yeah, I've always had a very big interest in technology, both hardware and software. Actually, nowadays not that much hardware anymore because everything is in a data center somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, it still carries on.
Okay, so let's start with that Commodore 64 itself, right? Because you started your journey from there. So, what was the first moment when you realized that yes, technology would be more than just a hobby for you? Like how it all started?
Yeah, I mean, how that's a lot of things if you look at like history. But yeah, definitely. I mean, Commodore 64 was really young then, so that was not really work related, right? It was more interesting to see how things can progress from there. But I think when I was around like 12, 13, 14, something like that, I had a big hardware interest in computers, right? When you had these 5,400 RPM disk drives, you had to switch the jumpers to ensure that you can install them properly, IDE cables, stuff like that. It was really interesting to me, and I earned some money when I was young by fixing friends and families' computers, also running around in Stockholm with different companies helping out and not earning big bucks, right? But it's made me realize that there is money to gain, or like a profession really to be had here with technology. But back then it was more hardware, honestly, than it was software. That came later.
Okay. So, Gustav, like I don't know how it sound, but I believe that I think ERP is not the always a young developer's first dream. So, what made ERP click for you in your 20s? Like, was there any particular thing that inspired you to start your journey as a ERP developer?
Yeah, as with many things in life, right? It's all about coincidence. Same as with me here. I worked a lot as a solutions like hosting solutions at a company where we ran a data center, and we also ran like more PaaS, you would call it nowadays, platform as a service, where people could work, companies could install their ERPs or their applications, and we could run them in our data center. So that kind of gave me a very good understanding of many different ERP systems and many different applications, because I had to install them. I had to move them to our data center, and I had to install anything ranging from small business server to very, very specific applications for that particular business. So that really gave me a good understanding of the topology back then. With you had the RAID controllers from a hardware perspective, but then you also had all these applications being installed running on Oracle or on Microsoft SQL Server. You had to, or at least having maybe it's a very, very large curiosity, I would say, into how things are working, which is probably the main driver for me even today, right? I want to understand how things are working, and that kind of gives me a way to fix things, basically. But basically, it was all about coincidence. I was working at a company, and they were in the process of shifting out their old ERP because it didn't meet the needs that they had, and then it kind of went down that line, becoming Dynamics AX, and that piqued my interest into that application. And then from that point on, it basically just became AX.
Mhm. Okay. So, Gustav, let's say if someone gave you the opportunity to restart your career from scratch itself in 2026, so would you like to start with ERP again, or would you like to collaborate something more other than CR ERP? Because let's say if someone is there who wanted to pursue similar kind which you follow, they wanted to follow your journey. So in 2026, what add-on you would add there, or maybe something that you would like to change when you start now?
Yeah, good question. I mean, if I'd known what I know now, but yeah, definitely, I think I would still dabble into ERP because it's not only a technical interest, it's also I have a very big interest in companies in general and business processes, like understanding one thing about ERP. If I just think about like starting out, it's really if you do something, you can actually see it translated into reality. Like
Right.
I worked a lot in warehouses and supply chains. So at the actual warehouse, I've worked as a picker running around in the warehouse. So if you do something wrong, it leads to a very inefficient process, right?
Correct.
But if you change something in ERP, it's not like if you're a developer now and you're working on something, you can build something small, and it's a nice code and makes things run faster. But with ERP or WMS systems, but with something where people are actually using it in a daily business process, you get to actually see the benefit of it improving that process. And either that makes the company more money, or what is even more interesting to me, it makes people happier working with these business applications, because everyone knows that there is no frustration as users not liking the system that they're working with, and that leads to poor performance, like overall, not only from a technical perspective. So I would say in ERP, the possibility to see, okay, I made this change now, and that actually improved a lot of people's daily work life, right? And I think that's
Exactly.
one of the main benefits.
All right. Okay, so let's talk more about the AX, because at your early days, like how you started with the AX, right? What or maybe what do you know now that you wish that you had known back then when you were in the initial days working with the AX?
I mean, from from an AX, it's 20 years, right? It's almost
Yeah.
20 years. So I would say I now have 3 kids, 2 dogs, and a wife and a family. So I think that maybe given me more experience into life than the different versions of AX. But definitely, I think as you mentioned, I started out as a developer, and I still am a developer in some regard, but I don't develop as much code anymore. But I would argue that is my main thing, to bring a larger understanding of the application itself from a functional perspective, as well as a larger understanding of like the business processes in general. What are we actually trying to achieve here? I think in some projects early on, people thought I was a really troublesome developer, because I always asked, like, why are we building this report? What is the purpose of doing this? What is the purpose of doing it? And everyone was like, why? Don't ask, just build it. No,
Mm.
I really want to understand it. And I think that that would be my main takeaway from how we tackle things, or how I tackle things today, as opposed to when I was a younger developer, trying to understand the big picture where it fits in, because I believe that makes me a better developer or a better architect right now.
Okay. All right. Now, we will talk about one of your, I think, quote, I would say, because you often talk about healthy and successful solution. Because when I was doing some research on your profile, I found various time, numerous time you have repeated this term that try to build healthy and successful solution. So, what does an unhealthy ERP solution look like in the real world when you are designing or working with the ERP system?
Well, I mean, we could do probably an episode only on this topic, right? Because you could go on and on about when I mean healthy solutions. I mean basically you have a lot of good frameworks out there. Success by design, a lot of healthy frameworks and tools that you can use to make your implementation easier. But it's also about maintaining the solution after it's gone live and ensuring that whatever you build, it always ends up in the hands of someone or a team, or someone needs to maintain it. It's like it's an old saying, like when you develop code, when you develop something, you should bear in mind that people will review your code down the line and they know where
Correct.
you live. So you have to be kind of, when you design something and when you build something, doesn't matter if it's a large scale business process or if it's a small extension to a form or anything like that, it's going to live for a while, right? And someone needs to be able to maintain it, and it needs to fit into that big piece of running a business, which is mainly like ERP is just a tool, right? We're enabling our businesses to grow.
I agree.
So when I say healthy solutions, I mean both like performing scalable solutions, but I also mean healthy solutions from a maintainability perspective, like ensuring that the AM team understands what we're doing here, building self-healing solutions, like implementing batch retrieval is a very pragmatic example here, like ensuring that when you build something, build it so it works even when it doesn't work, if you see what I mean. I think
Yeah.
that's my main point here. It's fairly easy to build something in X++ or in whatever tool you want to use, but it's trickier to build something that lasts. I think that's
Okay.
what I mean with healthy solutions, like ensuring that your solution both survives to go live, but also is able to scale together with the application and the platform. I mean, Dynamics 365 is a very scalable modern solution in itself. So if you don't extend it or use it in a scalable way, then it kind of defeats the purpose of running a scalable SaaS solution anyway.
Okay. So, Gustav, let's take the same question, but this time we will talk on the behalf of organization. So, what
Yep.
do you think? Like, what are the common three mistakes that that organization repeat or frequently do when they are
Mm-hmm.
implementing the ERP system, and that mistake turns their system unsuccessful? So, what are the common pitfalls from the point of view of organizations?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a technical solution architect, so I'm coming at it from like basically a developer perspective. Now it is a technical architect perspective, but now, as I mentioned before, now that I understand more about the application itself and the solution itself, it makes things easier for me. But I would still say poor technical implementations would be the biggest one, where you see like not understanding the way a thing is supposed to work,
Hmm.
leading to, again, back what I said in the previous question, that this platform itself is scalable, but if you build bad code or bad integrations, then you're kind of destroying the scalability of the implementation. So you might make it work like the initial weeks after go live, but you will never be able to roll out or scale out, or you just reach a mess in maintainability, right? So I think that's, and I say that because as a technical architect, these things kind of end up in my lap, right? So if you ask someone else, they might have a different answer to that question. But I would say that that is the top one where I see issues, like with not understanding the basics of the product sometimes, in the worst cases at least. And again, the second one from that point is maybe not, especially now, is not understanding the platform. And when I say platform, I don't mean just Dynamics 365, supply chain, or finance. I mean the entire platform with Copilot Studio, with
Okay.
specifically Dataverse,
Hmm.
and like the breadth of the toolbox. I think you and I usually talk about this as well. In many cases, you see people in project and implementations, they come into the project with one tool in their toolbox, which is a hammer, which is Dynamics 365. It's built for rigidity and like its scalability definitely, but also regulatory compliance. So
Correct.
sometimes that might not be the best tool to use for a business challenge, right? So I would say that I see a lot of places where it could have been solved in a better way using Power Automate, Power Platform, using Dataverse, and nowadays, of course, using Copilot Studio, using an agent. There are so many tools at your disposal right now. So, and that might also be a challenge. Back in the day with AX and Axapta, you basically just had you had one tool, right? We're going to do an integration. We have AIF, and then we had DIXF, but it made things easier from a technical architecture perspective because you basically just chose that tool and then you moved on. Now you have so many different available tools, and that makes life as a developer or a technical architect a little bit more tricky because you need to be knowledgeable. You need to understand these things and how they fit into the big puzzle, which is an implementation. You don't necessarily need to be an expert in all of them, right? You just need to understand what are their strengths. What is the strength of Dataverse being like built with cloud first in mind, so it's fully scalable. Like from a performance perspective, it's much more scalable really than Dynamics is in itself with AOSs and stuff. But I would say not understanding that possibilities of the Power Platform Dataverse is one of the more common mistakes and things I see out there.
Okay. Okay. All right. And let's because you have served as a solution architect, and you have delivered so many successful projects, and we all know you by that profile, right? But let's say if you are appointed as a solution architect again, but with that project that are already in trouble, okay,
Yeah.
things are not in well shaped, or it is not going in the right direction. So in such situation, maybe not you, if someone else is there who is going to join the team where the project is not going in the right direction. So what's the first thing that we should assess as a solution architect to start with? Because there are plenty of things that we need to take care of, right? So
Yeah.
what is the one thing that you will primarily focus on and start with that?
It depends on the situation, of course. But back
Yes.
in the day, if I start there, I used to do a lot of performance test and performance troubleshooting and troubleshooting projects. It really there was a period in time, it's maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I actually went by the nickname of Mr. Wolf because I kind of ran around in different implementations. And if you saw me at your project, then you were in trouble because something was wrong with your project, right? So I kind of got all these issues that I needed to resolve. So that gave me a very good kind of tool set to work with, and I brought that with me to 365 as well. And it's all about understanding the pain points and then using telemetry and like data-driven analysis, because it's not magic. Somewhere, somehow, something is not going well, and you can actually figure it out. And then, of course, it depends on the situation if you can fix it or not. I mean, how fast you can fix it. But in your example, I would normally, if a project is in trouble, someone there knows, or at least can describe it from a business pain perspective, right? We are struggling because our pick lists are not being generated fast enough. We are struggling because this particular batch job takes 3 or 4 or 5 hours to run and it's not helping us, or the AOSs are crashing or whatever. There are so many good descriptions right out there that you can start with. And then nowadays, with all the telemetry that we have, especially if you're on like version 45 and upwards, there is so much telemetry. So it's hard finding the woods for all the trees. You have to kind of use that to your advantage and figure it out, because using like data-driven analysis, there is always an explanation, because in the end, it's not. It's all about database. It's either in the database in Azure SQL, or it's in the AOS, or it's a poorly written customization, which is, I mean, normally it's because of a poorly written customization. And you can figure that out. You just need to invest the time. It's doing detective analysis work. You need to spend a couple of hours taking a copy of production into a lower tier environment, using database access, using the technology that we have to figure out that issue, and then present the solution and a way forward. I think that's 9 times out of 10. That's the solution. Sometimes, I mean, the issue is not really with the technology and the platform itself. It's with how it was implemented, making a wrong choice somewhere. And that can be really tricky, not because of like, it's easy to change. Like this is a better way to do it. But shifting an organization to move their process, that can be a very tricky thing to do, right? Because it requires time, it requires training, it requires people understanding and are willing to change. So if it's a technical problem, which I'm normally suited for, then yeah, you can fix it by like rewriting it, rolling out a new entity or rolling out a new class or whatever you need to do. If it's a process change, it's also doable, but it requires just more thinking and more time.
Okay. And let's say if we talk particularly about the team with you are working, so any particular metrics that you checklist that yes, this these are the qualities that should be there in your team members, or anything that you keep in mind while working with a different team, or like you do in a very normal way.
Yeah, I think as I mentioned before, my strong suit and also my, I think maybe a curse is the natural curiosity and the
Naturally.
natural like thing of wanting to understand and actually asking questions. That's the main thing I look for in a team, and like working with the good people is the possibility to ask questions, right? To have discussions and not only say that, okay, I'll do it, but like driven by a curiosity of understanding why things are working the way they are. And the answer might not be in code. The answer might be because this company chose to do it this way. It's also a good finding, right? So I would say like if the question is like good personal skills to have, I would say natural curiosity and the possibility to evaluate things and to try things out. From a technical perspective, I would say that, as I mentioned before as well, understanding more about like the platform itself and understanding how things are working underneath the hood makes you a better both developer and solution architect, because you can make very poor decisions if you don't understand like
Correct.
the way batch is working. I mean, the batch telemetry agent is a very good tool to use nowadays, because you can help just by installing that agent, which is available for free. I mean, you can just by installing that, which is very
Hmm.
easily done, and running that Power Automate and running that prompt, you get a quick analysis of your entire batch setup in production. And it gives you good input. It gives you just a summary email, basically, and then you can work with that. You also have
Right.
now the implementation portal, which is a great tool from FastTrack to just log on board your project and just access the free telemetry data and all the rules and reports that are there. And then you have a very, very good starting point of doing a data-driven analysis into why things are going bad or catch things that are about to go bad, which is a more important thing to do, like catch things that are about to go bad in maybe 6 months time, because your database will grow and then you will have a problem. You might not have a problem right now, but it's always better to stay on top of these things by using all of these tools that are available right now. It's just that I think not everyone is using them. I don't know the data here, how many like implementations are actually using them,
Correct.
but that would be my main point. Like, make sure to use all of those tools that are available to you, and then gain input from that.
Okay, so we can conclude that there should be a proper discussion among the team members.
Yeah,
They should be come up with some good questions and discuss on that thing, and also the right tool should be there to implement the solution that you are planning to do.
yeah,
Okay,
and I think also one thing to add to that is the atmosphere in the project, to make
correct.
people feel that they are allowed to do that. They are allowed to go, like, to do wrong. Everyone should be allowed to do that, but also to have like this atmosphere and in the project and the team, that like a natural curiosity and a collaboration, I would say. And that is really tricky to kind of just flick a switch and turn on, but that's something that you should look out for and to
Yes,
try to bring to all projects.
right. Okay, perfect. So moving ahead, let's talk about another popular term other than ERP is AI nowadays, right? Everyone is
Yes.
talking about AI. So let's collaborate these two things, AI as well as ERP. So as a Microsoft MVP in AI ERP, where do you see AI genuinely adding the value, not just for the hype, but actually we can utilize AI in terms of ERP today. So how you look at as a Microsoft MVP?
Mhm. No difference really in how I look at it from an MVP perspective or as just a general technical architect. But I think, as you say, it's a lot of hype in AI. But if you kind of look at it really right now where we're at, there are so many actual use cases where it's adding a lot of value. I think I would be amiss if I don't mention the MCP server, the new, and I think that's a really it's a huge shift in what what it's possible to now do with the use of agents and the use of tools, because basically we are putting the entire application from a UI perspective in the hands of an agent. And that opens up so many scenarios. I'm running the MCP server to do canary bird testing in lower tier environments. It takes like 10 minutes tops to set up a Power Automate that runs and just like post a sales order or runs a transfer order or something, like a use case that I want to run through in all of my lower tier environments, just to ensure that things are working. It doesn't replace the need to do real like ATL test cases, check-in test cases, but it gives me a sense of, okay, things are now working in my environments. And that's not even counting all of the automation that you can do with the help of MCP servers. And with the analytics MCP as well coming in, I think 2026 will be a very interesting year. Both 24, 25, you've seen all of these agents come out, right? And they are working out there, and they are doing a lot of good. But you also see like a lot of people saying, okay, where's my use case? How can I use AI to my benefit? And I think definitely 2026 we will see so many agents coming out and so many user-driven stories where MCP server for ERP, as well as the MCP server for analytics, which is really like you have these scenarios, right, where you have users, instead of doing these complex queries within the application or in PowerFX, you can just ask the agent to give you that analysis and to give you that thing that you might have a tricky way finding, like the answer to your question. And those things I think we will see more and more now in 2026 too. So definitely I think the answer to your question is all over the place. I can see AI genuinely adding value. The tricky part here will be finding that balance and the understanding of, if I choose this model, my like consumption of tokens goes up. I think that's a learning curve that we all need to be mindful of this year, like selecting the correct model, especially if you're working in Copilot Studio, and building good agents. But as with everything, the more we use things, the better we become at understanding, okay, if I have this agent doing this specific tool, I only wanted to do exactly that tool. Maybe I don't need a full-blown like reasoning engine. I just need something to do that automation. Whereas if I do like a very complex agent doing reconciliation, I might need to have a larger model or a different model that works a different way. Again, back to the toolbox that I mentioned before, like the toolbox of working in Dynamics 365 has been just ever growing for the last couple of years. And now it's growing even more with the use of agents. So you need to understand how they fit in and understand what they can do. You don't necessarily have to be an expert in LLMs. I most definitely am not an expert in LLMs, just to be clear. But I try to understand how these things are fitting together and what problems they are meaning to solve. Right?
Okay. All right. So before we talk about your network of support, which I usually ask with my guest, I want to take one piece of advice for those who wanted to start contributing to the tech community, but they doesn't feel expert enough, or maybe they feel sometimes that they know the things, but they are not able to share it within the community. But so I think you are the right person because you are consistently contributing in different communities. So what one piece of advice would you like to share with them?
It's an excellent question, and I mean, it's hard to give a good answer. I think the best one is whenever I do a presentation or anything like that, I bear in mind that in the room, if I do a live presentation, or like on LinkedIn, if I do something online review or an online article, everyone reading this or listening to you wants you to succeed, right? So that kind of fear of like, am I going to be judged now or something like that? If that is your threshold of not contributing, like, oh, I'm not good enough, or oh, this is not good enough, just try to just disregard it, because everyone wants you to succeed. Everyone will be happy. If someone Googles and finds your article and it gives them a solution to their problem, that's enough, right? I've never seen, or at least I hope I've never seen anyone out there publishing something and then people in the comments are going, oh, I didn't like this. Everyone loves like you know how it is. You also publish a lot of good free content, right? And if I ask you, you rarely see negative comments, right? Everyone is
Right.
happy because it's there and it's available in the community.
True.
And I mean, from personal perspective, I think I've been very, very helped throughout the years. When I started out, you see a lot of these heroes in the community that just publish and wanted to give something back. So my advice would be to just don't think too much about it. Just publish it. Start out with something small, something that you know very well, and just write something or do something about that, or talk at a local chapter. It might feel less daunting than doing like this big presentation somewhere, and do it on a topic that you feel confident enough about. You don't need to know everything about co-pilots or agents or LLMs. If you have a different topic or a different subject, a module in Dynamics that you are very well versed in, start out with that, because there's always something that you can find, some new feature or something that you can write, and then it kind of goes on. But bear in mind that whatever you publish or talk about, people will want you to succeed, and you will get positive feedback. And if you get corrected by some fact, great, change it, and then you learn something new. So you kind of need to shift your mindset into that. But I always think as well, when I do something, it's always a little bit daunting, and that never stops. It's just you need to kind of work around it.
Gustav, as a content creator, I'm 100% agree with these all statements, because I also feel that if you share a small piece, let's say if you are sharing a 1 minute video, right? But at that time you will think that, oh, not sure whether it will help or not. But later
Mm.
on, when it will be circulated among the audience, you will find that it is really impacting. Everyone got has
Yeah,
like everyone has got some insightful things from that one short 1 minute video. So just try to share whatever you know, how you want to present it, just share it, and then you will find out that yes, it is really making an impact, and you will get, so more than 90% comments are good. Sometimes
yeah,
like people feel that they got some criticisms or maybe sometimes suggestion, but that is also good, because
yeah,
on the other hand, like they will try to correct it. So if they are correcting
yeah.
it, that is really good. That
Exactly.
is not a negative comment, I would say.
Yeah, definitely, and that's the whole part of having a community, right? It's
Yeah.
a community is never as good as its participants.
Yes, everyone is trying to contribute, and they wanted to help each other. So that is something that
Exactly,
everyone should do. All
definitely.
right. So moving ahead, let's talk about the support system, because in everyone's life there is a support system who helped in their journey. So for you, who were those key people?
Yeah, I thought about this question a lot, and it's hard. I mean, if I start to name people here, it's going to be a very long list. But definitely from a professional perspective, definitely the community out there. There's so many people that have been writing and blogging and talking for a longer period than I have, definitely, that have been very helpful. But I would be amiss not mentioning. I mean, I have 3 kids, I have 2 dogs, and my fantastic wife supports me going on conferences and going around, like taking care of the family when I'm gone. I'm not gone that much, but I think the family has always been my main like
Yeah.
supporter for everything. And I having this curiosity and actually having Dynamics as a hobby and not only a profession helps. But then you have to have this understanding from the family that sometimes you do things outside of business hours to because of my interest, really.
Yes.
But then, I mean, outside of family, definitely my employer. I mean, having understanding employer that have been supporting enough and giving me all the tools that I want to kind of try out. So Engage Group the last couple of years have definitely been a strong support in mine. And I think that's one of the main drivers, like dabbling in these things, because ERP is so big. You will never understand everything, or at least you will never be an expert in everything. But the more you have the possibility to try things out, and the support from family and from especially from your employer as well, from a professional perspective, and your clients, definitely. When you, as myself, I work like 100% in delivery out there, and I think my clients, at least I hope that they are the understanding in my, like the time I invest outside of business hours gives them benefits as well. So not mentioning, except for my wife, then like specific people, I would say that surrounding yourself with family and friends, but mainly family and professional from my employer, would be the strongest supporters I have.
Okay. All right. So now, Gustav, let's conclude this discussion by taking one more question, and that is related to Sweden. Although, like, I have done so many podcasts with Swedish people and have
Yeah.
learned so much things about Sweden, but I just wanted to know one thing from your end as well, that you would like to share about your country with the rest of the people across the globe. Like, what one thing that is close to your heart about the Sweden?
And there's so many things about Sweden that I love. I wanted to mention like the whole, but don't think that's a problem anymore. It's been over the years a mix-up between a lot of people don't understand that Switzerland and Sweden are not the same country.
Yeah.
So, and I hope that's been sorted out now, and it's not no longer a problem. I would say that the looking out my window here, it's we have I think half a meter of snow just for the last couple of days. And that combined with Swedish summer being like Sweden has a very mixed climate, so I can combine going skiing with family and like playing in the snow with my kids in the wintertime with going sailing and swimming in the summer. So we have this really mixed climate in Sweden. It's not only like ice and winter all the time. We also have a very, very nice summer. So I would think that would be my main favorite thing with Sweden, because you get everything in one small package and one small country. You can do pretty much everything. The summers could be a bit longer, but I think the climate right now in Sweden is probably my most favorite thing. And then there are, of course, a lot of different sites in Sweden, and we have a lot of good companies and good inventions. But I would say, from a personal perspective, I enjoy having the mixed climate in Sweden.
Okay, so I think now everyone got one thing clear, that in any weather, in any season, you can visit and see the Sweden beauty, right? So that is
Yeah,
the
exactly.
great thing, and I think those who wanted to explore new things, I think Sweden is the best place that you can start with. So that's thanks for sharing this.
Definitely.
All right, so yeah, thank you so much, Gustav, for sharing so much information about your profession, your career journey. It was pleasure to talk to you here. So thank you once
Thank you
again.
so much. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.